Logan Paul, as many of you may know by now, he is currently at the center of this grand conspiracy surrounding this NFT game or crypto game called CryptoZoo. This is very much related to gaming because CryptoZoo was a video game, quote unquote, more of a scam disguised as a video game. And secondly, because this is the direction where video games want to head in. They want to normalize crypto and NFTs and are essentially endorsing a landscape where scams, cons, theft, crimes are rampant. And there's no better exhibit of this than CryptoZoo right here. This is when it was announced back on August 9th, 2021, when the official CryptoZoo Twitter page tweeted, "Coming September 1st." In the following weeks, months, and years, it would become apparent that this was all a giant grift, that what was promised would not be delivered. And the individual who exposed all of this was YouTuber CryptoZoo, who starting December 16th released a series of 3 videos where he essentially broke down the entire scam. Utterly incredible journalistic work by CryptoZoo here, plenty of receipts to back up his claims. Part 1 was published on December 16th. This is what that video looks like. It's called Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam. And I'm going to kind of summarize this for you guys. I recommend you watch all 3 parts if you really want to dive deep into the story. But if you want just the basic summary, here's what I got for you. So first of all, what is CryptoZoo? It is essentially a play-to-earn NFT/crypto game, which involves using the in-game currency called Zoo Coins, which is a cryptocurrency, to buy eggs from which animals hatch. And these animals are essentially JPEGs, which can be bred to create animal hybrids, essentially fusions of JPEGs. And depending on the rarity of these animals, they'll earn a certain amount of Zoo Coins passively, and eventually you can decide to burn one of these animals so that the Zoo Coins are released to you, at which point you can fuel this vicious cycle further by buying more eggs and engaging in this game, or you can cash out and make some money. Now, an immediate red flag was the fact that this is not the first time Logan has engaged in a crypto grift. CryptoZoo launched after Logan had scammed people via another cryptocurrency called Dink Doink. Basically, he acted like he was no part of that cryptocurrency and said he was investing in it for fun and essentially encouraged people to invest in it as well. Turned out he was secretly directly involved in that crypto project, and in fact, he created the Dink Doink character. With CryptoZoo, one of the first red flags was that when people noticed that the so-called unique art that Logan Paul claimed was created by a bunch of artists that he hired and worked months on this stuff, turned out to be not unique art at all. These JPEGs of animals essentially were stock photos, and the hybrid animals were essentially photoshopped, combined JPEGs from these stocked photos. Also worth noting is that before the CryptoZoo game's launch, they essentially did pre-orders for cryptocurrency. They sold millions of dollars worth of crypto before the so-called game even came out. And what ended up ultimately happening is that this whole scheme cost players who trusted that Logan Paul was a reformed content creator tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars per person, per individual, per player, per investor. This happened because since day one, since launch day, and to this day, the game basically doesn't work. There is no way to claim your yield, so there was no way for people to cash out. Those who used Ethereum to buy these crypto eggs couldn't even hatch those eggs. There was, I don't know, some kind of bug when it came to people who used Ethereum, and it's still like this to this very day. And so eventually, when people realized that there was no functional game here, the CryptoZoo value plummeted. And for a time period after the backlash, Logan Paul went completely radio silent. He went incognito. There was no more marketing for CryptoZoo. He wasn't talking about it anymore. He basically abandoned it. But somebody associated with Logan Paul, his partner in crime, his name is Ben Roth, he insisted on the social medias surrounding CryptoZoo, the Discord and all these things, that progress was being made behind the scenes, that there was a big marketing push coming soon, that fixes were going to happen, and essentially dragged people on, kept leading them on, convinced them to not sell, convinced them to keep pouring money into this, and essentially kept the grift going. Now, after a long period of radio silence, Logan eventually publicly said that he's currently working on one of the biggest projects of his life. He was pretty vague about what that is, but a lot of people assumed, oh, finally, he must be talking about CryptoZoo, and the fact that he's going to do a big marketing push for it soon so that investors can finally see some returns, and hopefully we can see this game, quote unquote, come to life. But then later on, a clip leaked where somebody asked, "Hey Logan, this big project of yours, is it CryptoZoo?" He admitted that wasn't the case. And this is when those who invested in CryptoZoo began to feel a sense of despair. That's when their hearts began to sink. As you can imagine, the backlash was swift and severe, and Logan Paul had to do damage control by insisting that it wasn't his fault. This is what he claimed in public. He blamed the bad actors and scammers he accidentally roped himself in with. He claimed that there's this one developer who fled with the CryptoZoo source code and held it hostage for $1 million. Now, CoffeeZilla reached out to this developer that Logan Paul accused of stealing the CryptoZoo source code and holding it hostage. And in that interview, the developer said that the reason he took the source code with him was because his team of 30 engineers and himself were not getting paid for their work, and he felt that Logan Paul and company were essentially going to steal his work and not compensate him and the team for it. Now, CoffeeZilla did reveal that the developers did make the mistake of not putting everything in writing, essentially writing up a contract to make sure there was a legal obligation, but it doesn't change the fact that Logan Paul not paying the people working on a project that he hired them to do is immoral. So this was about everything that CoffeeZilla covered in part 1, which laid the groundwork for the next 2 parts. Part 2 would focus on this individual called Eddie Ibanez, who managed the developers, the people actually creating CryptoZoo. This is someone who became a prominent part of the CryptoZoo team because he claimed to be a genius programmer and hacker who graduated from MIT and was later recruited by the CIA. He also claimed to be an orphan, essentially came from nothing, and, through his own efforts and talents, got to go far in life. But when journalists looked into Eddie Ibanez, it turns out that his entire life story was a complete fabrication. Eddie Ibanez is a professional liar and grifter and nothing more. He's not some genius programmer and hacker. When MIT was contacted, they confirmed nobody by Eddie Ibanez attended the school, the college. Hell, he even lied about the fact that he was an orphan. At one point, Eddie Ibanez made a public appearance via, I think, this cooking show where they talked about how one of the recipes they learned from his mom, who, by the way, is alive and well. He's so good at lying and grifting that he convinced rich people and prominent figures that he was who he claimed he was, and it was through these prominent figures' endorsement of Eddie Ibanez that the CryptoZoo team thought, oh, he'd make a great addition to our team. He just kind of snaked his way into this den of snakes, essentially. It's just a group of scammers at this point, right? Now, eventually, Eddie Ibanez was kicked out of the team, and this whole project was in shambles, and yet Logan Paul continued to promote CryptoZoo and claimed that they were fixing the game, quote unquote, and essentially kept leading people on, kept them from selling, and kept convincing people to buy in and to invest in this project that one day was going to be really big and going to see great returns. But behind the scenes, what was going on is that developers kept quitting because they were not getting paid on time. Eventually, the game was just in an impossible state where it couldn't come to life because the people who were working on the project were gone. And things got so bad that eventually a whistleblower came to CoffeeZilla and came forward with leaked messages that further incriminated Logan Paul and team. And eventually, part 2 of CoffeeZilla's video, which is linked right here via his Twitter page, and which looks like this. This is Ibanez, by the way. This video is titled "The Biggest Fraud in Logan Paul's Scam." The video eventually concluded by teasing one of the messages, which showed communications between Logan Paul and this guy called Jake the Crypto King, who was essentially the crypto consultant for this CryptoZoo project. And that message essentially saw Jake accusing Logan Paul of stealing $40 million in crypto from Jake the Crypto King. And essentially, Jake called Logan Paul a scammer and a liar. That finally brings us to part 3, which is linked on CoffeeZilla's Twitter page here. The finale to my 3-part Logan Paul CryptoZoo investigation is now live, and it is titled "Ending Logan Paul's Biggest Scam." This scam centers around 4 main key players: Logan Paul, the founder; Jeff Levin, Logan's manager; Eddie Ibanez, the lead developer who lied his way into this project; and Jake, the Crypto King, the crypto advisor. Now, part 3 is a 30-minute long video that really goes into detail about the context of the messages that the whistleblower leaked to CoffeeZilla, and the messages essentially highlight internal turmoil within the team where these key players and members like Crypto King and Logan Paul and Eddie Ibanez were essentially trying to out-scam each other or out-backstab each other. Unsurprisingly, what these messages reveal is that they weren't setting out to create a fun game where people could benefit. They were scheming about a way to manipulate their own market for profit. And CoffeeZilla makes it a point to highlight that at the core foundation of what brought this whole project down, aside from all of the grifts and lies and the internal turmoil and all the scam-like elements, was the fact that the so-called game never got built in the first place, so this crypto ecosystem had no chance of thriving, and so that eventually led to the project's downfall, the value of this cryptocurrency plummeting, and a lot of victims ending up losing tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. At the end of the video, the way CoffeeZilla concludes things is by saying, I'm not going to be the one to say who's to blame. I'm just going to let the people who are affected by this speak out. And you can see the victims, the investors who, trusted in Logan Paul speaking out and expressing that, yeah, they need to take accountability, call them frauds. And I know a lot of people come out and say, well, this is what you get for trusting Logan Paul. And, on some level, fair enough. But, do keep in mind that not everyone follows the news. Not everyone knows everything about Logan Paul. And, the grifters, the ones who they go after are those who are susceptible to be grifted, people who don't know any better, people who don't want to get scammed, but they just aren't in the know enough about certain things. And so, yeah, these people just come to trust someone they thought is successful and gives off a certain persona, but is rotten at their core. At the end of the day, what CryptoZoo amounts to is essentially tons of people losing a lot of money off of rich people's money games, which unfortunately is a commonplace occurrence in this world that we live in. And all this, by the way, comes in right after the whole Sam Bankman-Fried FTX downfall situation, which is a whole other topic. I mean, this is the landscape that gaming is now trying to get into, that major AAA publishers are trying to promote as something that will revolutionize gaming, something that will be beneficial to us, the players. Now, Logan Paul did eventually respond to CoffeeZilla's videos. Here is one tweet from December 23rd. While I generally appreciate Stephen's creative genius and exceptional work ethic, I mean that, this one is simply not true. When appropriate, all bad actors will be exposed, explained, and held fully accountable. I'll speak further on Impulsive on January 3rd. This is, I believe, his podcast. CoffeeZilla responded to Logan Paul's response with, I can't reply to Logan Paul directly. I'm blocked, but it's pretty wild to refuse to talk to me for months, refuse to address investors for a year and a half, and then, when caught, Logan says he's going to expose bad actors. If Logan actually had the best of intentions and genuinely wanted to expose bad actors, then he wouldn't have waited until CoffeeZilla released his videos before he felt the need to expose the bad actors. He would have spoken to CoffeeZilla, an investigative journalist, and sort of laid it out for folks and just made it very clear what was going on behind the scenes. But of course, he has a lot to hide, which is why he was afraid to speak publicly. CoffeeZilla makes it a point to highlight that he tried to reach out to Logan Paul, that he tried to make sure that he has everyone's side of the story. October 24th, I approached Logan via Jeff, his manager, in good faith to get their side of the story. They had 2 months to respond and chose not to. Scrolling down, CoffeeZilla continues. A year before that, I also called Jeff about accusations of Logan not paying developers. Again, they chose not to comment. Choosing not to respond is not appropriate like Logan claims. It's just old-fashioned damage control. Damn right. Just sad to see Logan once again focus only on his own reputation instead of the victims who are out millions of dollars because of him. Very much like how game companies only backtrack immoral business practices when they get called out for it, when there is backlash, rather than during the process realizing, you know what, maybe what we're doing is wrong. Hilariously, Logan Paul, after those videos came out at one point, subscribed to CoffeeZilla's Patreon. I guess Logan Paul's trying to keep a close eye on CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla jokingly tweeted, so grateful for each of my new patrons, and you can see right here at loganpaul.com. It is, in fact, Logan Paul. Update, I refunded him and kicked him out. Who knows where that $5 came from? Logan Paul then tried to paint the narrative that, hey, I'm trying to communicate with CoffeeZilla, but he won't bite, invited CoffeeZilla CoffeeZilla on Impulsive, but CoffeeZilla responded by making it a point to highlight that CoffeeZilla invited Logan Paul to his platform. You forgot to include my email. Nevertheless, once again, I want to invite you to tell your side of the story on my platform, and Logan Paul refused. CoffeeZilla posted a second tweet to highlight this. Logan invited me on his show, quote unquote, but didn't include the email 24 hours before this, where I invited him first onto my show along with Eddie, Crypto King, and Jeff. I'm happy to fly Logan down or live stream it, but I'm not flying to his CryptoZoo tax haven on New Year's, LOL. Logan is trying to control the playing field now that he's cornered, but CoffeeZilla isn't biting. He already said, hey, come on to my show, and if you're innocent, then surely you'll be happy to talk to me, an investigative reporter who can tell your side of the story. But Logan Paul is clearly scared. A few days later, on December 29th, Logan Paul posted this cringe image of him acting like he's an investigator now, and he's going to investigate himself and prove himself innocent. Logan pretending he's going to investigate his own scam is the funniest thing this year, tweeted CoffeeZilla, laughing, can't wait for him to find himself innocent. CoffeeZilla then pointed out that Logan Paul finally, for the first time in a very long time, posted on the CryptoZoo Discord by saying, long time no see. Now he posts, now that he's cornered, now that he knows that his reputation is in shambles. Hope you all have wonderful New Year's Eve. We'll start 2023 with a bang. Someone from the Discord then responded to him, hope you can repair everything. Logan Paul responded with, I am. At this point, how somebody can speak to him so calmly, like he is gonna be their savior of the scam that he himself perpetuated, like that baffles me. Thankfully, plenty of others have called him out. Can you stop being a simp, telling people who are still essentially trying to support Logan Paul through all of this? Can you stop being a simp and falling for 3 random messages after over a year of pain? So why did you abandon us for over a year? Why did it take Coffee to expose everything for you to message? We have lost millions. People's lives have been destroyed. I hope you know the impact you have had on all of our lives and can take some accountability. Whether it was entirely your fault or not, we believed in you and have been completely fucked over because of that. Here's another message. F him, F sake. Most people have sold and took the L. What happens to all of those people? He will make some game just to get away from a lawsuit, and CoffeeZilla just highlights the depravity of this whole situation. I think the worst outcome here is that Logan actually convinces people to dump more money into this train wreck. And yeah, you can see right here the impact that Logan Paul's exploitation of his influence can have. Here's somebody saying, I might just put in another $1,000 right now into CryptoZoo, only because I think after Logan has CoffeeZilla on the podcast to talk about CryptoZoo, people are still going to invest, yada, yada, yada. I've spent a couple $100 in the last 2 weeks. Better to buy now than at the beginning when the project was all hyped, in my opinion. And then came Logan Paul's big response. The tweet is still up here. It reads, new video, my response to CoffeeZilla scam allegations. Important that you watch. You can see not a whole lot of likes or retweets compared to the traction that CoffeeZilla's tweets have been getting. And this right here is the video in question titled, my response to CoffeeZilla scam allegation. From the likes to dislikes ratio here, you can already tell that people are not on Logan Paul's side and that this is a pretty awful response video that doesn't present any counter receipts. Instead, it takes no account. As CoffeeZilla summarized here, Logan Paul responded, 0 apologies, 0 addressing victims, 0 accountability. I'll reply in full when I organize my thoughts, but for now, Logan accuses me of not reaching out to him directly until December 24th, 2022, but doesn't mention I reached out over a year prior on Instagram. And once again, CoffeeZilla has the receipts, whereas Logan Paul is just making claims and accusations and trying to deflect blame. Oh, and by the way, this response video from Logan Paul, it's gone now, it's deleted. The only reason I still have it up is because I opened this tab and haven't closed it since it was opened a couple days ago. But if I refresh this, in fact, let me copy the link here and paste it in a new tab, it would show that the video is unavailable. There's nothing in the way of substance there anyway. It's all just damage control. It's all just Logan Paul trying to save face. It's all just desperation on the part of Logan Paul. You're not missing out on much. In the video, Logan Paul also threatened legal action against CoffeeZilla, believe it or not. This is hardly important with all of the insane lies on Logan Paul's new video, but did he really say he was going to sue me and also say he'd love to host me on Impulsive? LMAO, it's a trap. It was tweeted here on January 3rd, 2023. And in the coming hours and days, CoffeeZilla continued to take jabs at Logan Paul. His awful response video The fact that he had the audacity to say that CoffeeZilla didn't really do his research right when he has so many receipts and, hell, direct testimonials from investors of CryptoZoo. Reading through Logan Paul's video's comments, you can see that the general public is not on his side either. The top comment here reads, "It's like hiring a team of former bank robbers to run a new bank you decided to open, ... Fascinating. One of the claims that Logan Paul makes is that it's not his fault because it's the people around him who happen to be bad actors, and he didn't know they were bad actors, which first of all is complete BS, and the fact that Logan Paul's argument is, well, I'm the lesser of evils in this scenario, just says everything you need to know about him. Not to mention that it doesn't change the fact that it's your project, this whole CryptoZoo thing. It's on you to take responsibility for the people who suffered because you handled your project so shittily. The comments continue. The fact that he thinks he's a victim is crazy. Here is a satirical quote here. "How dare you not know that person you interviewed was a criminal? The people. Then why did you hire him? Logan." Haha, silly me. Logan Paul hired literal criminals. Also Logan Paul, shame on you journalists for not knowing just how criminal the criminals were that I hired. Never knew a continuous lapse of judgment could last this long. This is actually so funny because he literally admits he hired a bunch of criminals. Here's somebody highlighting the hypocrisy of Logan Paul. Logan Paul calling anyone else slimy and accusing them of doing anything for clout will never not be ironic and is extremely funny. Can you imagine threatening someone after scamming a bunch of investors? Threatening lawsuits doesn't mean you're innocent, just means you have enough money to not play by the rules. That's a really good quote. You have to give Logan credit for one thing. He is great at advertising CoffeeZilla's Patreon. Zero apologies, zero addressing victims, zero accountability, 17,000 upvotes. You get it at this point. You get the idea. Very few people are on Logan Paul's side at this point because CoffeeZilla is the one with the receipts. He did his research. He presented his information very thoroughly in a very eloquent and well-formatted manner. Meanwhile, Logan Paul's response is essentially a rant that tries to shift blame away, that tries to scapegoat, that tries to say that it's everyone's fault but his own. On Twitter, plenty of people have been tearing Logan Paul a new one. Jake Lucky here tweeted, "Logan Paul accusing CoffeeZilla of not doing his research while admitting he hired multiple criminals and conmen to his crypto team has got to be the funniest thing out right now." Over 70,000 upvotes. Here's Twitter user Omni, who posted, "Logan Paul's response ignored nearly all evidence that incriminated him, addressed none of the evidence, again, didn't present one iota of counter receipts. Even if he thinks CoffeeZilla is acting in bad faith or committed illegal practices, not taking any accountability is wild." Moist Critical came out with his own jab that reads, "Logan Paul hired more criminals for his CryptoZoo team than the Suicide Squad." Over 142,000 likes. Twitter user The Serves had this to say, "Logan Paul's response to CoffeeZilla completely exposing his cryptocurrency scam has to be one of the funniest attempts at salvation I've ever seen. His entire argument is basically that the people he worked with are actually way worse than CZ said, so checkmate. Logan, you're the founder of CryptoZoo. You are responsible for the people you hire for your team, and not to mention you yourself came into CryptoZoo not with the intent of providing people with a service that they would value, but it was all just you trying to create your own little economy where you could exert control to exploit people and scam people and profit off of. You got prominent content creators like Ludwig here, who just spoke out and put it simply, he's just a total narcissist. I mean, he's much worse than that. Logan Paul also had a weak response to CoffeeZilla, highlighting the fact that he was invited by CoffeeZilla to come on a show and to share his side of the story. Logan Paul said, "Well, I can't see all of your DMs and whatnot." But CoffeeZilla once again dunked on him by saying, "I don't expect you to see every DM, but I reached out to your manager." Basically, CoffeeZilla saying, "I tried to reach out to you through a number of means and you never responded back. That's on you." CoffeeZilla did the journalistic thing and tried to get all sides of the story, but if a certain side doesn't want to comment, well, they can do that, but in the future, you can't cry about the fact that this looks bad on you, especially with all of the evidence against you. And the fact they had no comment at the time, I mean, that may very well suggest that you just didn't want to talk about something you knew could get exposed in a more substantial way. Logan's second response would come in the form of this impulsive podcast video. "Important podcast," tweeted Logan Paul on January 4th, 2023. Logan Paul addresses crypto scam allegations. Now, this video is still up. It looks something like this. The title here reads, "Logan Paul addresses crypto scam allegations." Basically, the title of the tweet, Impulsive 359. Likes to dislikes ratio once again highlights not a whole lot of people are on Logan Paul's side. Near universally, everyone seems to be in agreement that Logan Paul is a scammer and a piece of shit. Near universally, people seem to agree that his responses have not been adequate, that CoffeeZilla presented very compelling arguments and evidence. Logan Paul has nothing to show for it, and there's plenty of testimonials, plenty of people who have experienced firsthand that Logan Paul does not care about the victims or feels any empathy for people who lost a lot of money, whose livelihoods were severely negative impacted by his shenanigans. CoffeeZilla responded to that impulsive podcast episode by saying that Logan Paul says me interviewing people who lost money in CryptoZoo is milking the shit out of it, and if I continue to do so and call this a scam, it's going to be worse for me in his lawsuit. And then there's this cringe clip of him presenting his reasoning for why he blocked CoffeeZilla and refused to communicate with them, and this is what he had to say. It's pretty pathetic.
Why did you block him on Twitter?
It's like a little gnat. It's like a little fucking annoying gnat. It bothers me. He won it out to me, bro. He's the most formidable opponent I've had. I'm not kidding. The guy's good.
Formidable opponent? You're treating this like it's a frickin' boxing match. This is a serious matter here of you being a fraud and CoffeeZilla accusing you of being a fraud and you having nothing to absolve you, and it's becoming more and more apparent, or at least more and more likely, that you have no counter evidence because you are guilty of a lot of the charges that CoffeeZilla presents. The latest in the saga is CoffeeZilla tweeting on January 6, 2023 that Logan Paul actually called him. He said he's deleting the 2 responses and is dropping the lawsuit threats. I believe he's making a 3rd response, which I'll be delaying my video to include. This was after CoffeeZilla tweeted that he's going to respond to Logan Paul's response. That's going to drop today. That's what he tweeted on January 6th, but he's deciding, you know what, let's see what Logan Paul has to say in this 3rd video before I put this out. Hopefully this time he takes accountability and refunds the victims of CryptoZoo. That's what matters. The thing is, Logan Paul probably has all the money he needs to refund the people who were scammed by this. It'll likely put a dent on his funds, but guess freaking what? That's what accountability looks like. It's called accepting the consequences of your actions and understanding that you have to sacrifice something to make up for something immoral that you did. And this wasn't some kind of accident. Logan Paul and team and company purposely set out to profit off of the exploitation of people in the crypto market. CoffeeZilla also highlighted a response that Logan Paul posted on Discord. He said, "Hey, I just wanted to update you. I deleted my initial response to Coffee series. It was rash and misaligned with the true issue at hand." He's saying that because, again, damage control, he has to save face, he knows he's cornered, and he now understands how desperate that video response looks. So I called him today and apologized. The war is not with Coffee. In fact, I'm grateful he brought this to light. Really, now you're suddenly grateful. You just can't get a read on this guy because Logan Paul is in it for himself, and he will change his stance however he needs to navigate whatever will save his reputation. I will be taking responsibility, apologizing, and coming forward with a plan in the near future. By accountability, I hope he means fully refunding the people who were negatively impacted, fully making the victims whole. Thank you all for believing in this project and sticking with me. Don't thank people for believing in a scam. I know it's been bumpy, but your support is everything to me, and I will make this right. We'll see about that. I really hope that government officials and law enforcement look into this and dole out the consequences to match the crimes that Logan Paul committed here. Hopefully they'll take more action against Logan Paul than they do with the games industry, which gets away with all kinds of shady shit, and now want to further elevate the shadiness of this industry by trying to normalize this kind of landscape. If you wanted more evidence that in the current state of the crypto and NFT and blockchain landscape that the games industry should stay as far away from crypto as humanly possible, and that we as, the gaming enthusiasts and community should discourage this kind of crap and push back and laugh and point at the companies who partake in this as much as possible, then it doesn't get any better than what CoffeeZilla has unearthed here when it comes to Logan Paul and just how easy it is to scam people and to take advantage of people and to ruin people through cryptocurrency and the wild, wild west environment that it is. I'm going to leave it at that and keep you updated on any further developments. For now, this is everything you need to know. I hope you found this video useful for those who haven't been able to keep track of everything going on surrounding this whole debacle and games industry. Take note of what's happening in this landscape. That's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on all of this, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.